Welcome to the Microsoft Security Insights Podcast with your hosts, Franklin Grimberg and Edward Walton, where we discuss Microsoft 365 security and Azure security news and products. Recorded May 11, 2022. Welcome to the Microsoft Security Insights, aka Red Cup Security. Franklin's on vacation, so we don't know. Brody, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Edward. How are you doing? Happy Red Cup Security.
Happy Red Cup Security. I do my best thinking when I'm drinking. You're right.
But you just have to tell me why you're calling him Brody. I know him by Rod.
Brody is Brody.
Oh, Brody.
We also
have
Brody
a Brody.
we have a Brody.
Why is he calling Rod Brody?
Yeah. Well, that's okay. I don't care.
He is a roadie. He's always playing gigs everywhere, man. He just got back from Minnesota. He was doing something. He's going to RSA. He is a roadie. He's a security roadie. Actually, he is Rod Trent, a.k.a. Roadie, a.k.a. Speaker 25.
Speaker 25. Yep.
I'd keep that. I'm Speaker 25.
I'm going to keep that one. I think that one really grew on me.
Inside joke too, Ryan. So Rod was on this symposium forum webinar. So as they list all the people, their accolades and stuff, they got to his name. It didn't have him. It just said Speaker 25.
Yeah, that's great. So I changed all my profile names to Speaker 25. So
yeah. Just roll with it. Just roll with it.
Anyway, Brody, anything interesting this week? What you do this week, man?
I'm working very hard with a number of customers, all kinds of stuff. Working on some Defender for Office, working on some Defender for Endpoint, some multi-factor authentication, some information protection, all kinds of stuff, Edward, all kinds of stuff. And then also, actually, I'm going to use this forum just for a moment here. Also, if anyone from Microsoft is listening, I'm now co-leading the America's Time Zone security community. And we would love if anybody out there who speaks Spanish or Portuguese would like to present to the Spanish and Portuguese communities within the America's Time Zone. We're looking for security speakers. So if you know anybody at all who wants to talk about anything related to those topics, Edward, I see your hands up. That's great. We'll talk after the show. Anyone at all, reach out. You can email me directly, ping me on Teams, ping me on LinkedIn. We're trying to grow the overall communities in those areas. And so, yeah, spread the word. So thank you.
Don't have to be a security expert. My wife can just come on and talk. She speaks Spanish.
I don't even. You know what? I want to meet her. You keep saying that she's coming down. You have to go for dinner, but I've never met her. I think it's all just a ploy. Maybe you don't really have a wife, and you're just actually just living in your parents' basement. You know.
My check account validates that I have a wife.
Okay.
I see these deductions coming right out of it. So, and plus, I need to get 9 gigs after we come back from this vacation, man. How much money we spent, and we haven't even left yet. But
it's just money. It's just money.
It's just money.
Yeah.
It's just money. You can get plenty of that, right?
Yeah.
Rod, anything about you, man? Anything good this week?
Well, first off, Brody, nobody listens to the podcast, so nobody heard that. Secondly, you should have your message probably should have been in Portuguese or Spanish if you wanted Portuguese or Spanish speaking people. So, all right.
I'm going to learn. But right now I'm doing my best, Rod. Okay. Perfection is the enemy of progress here. Okay. So
don't sacrifice the good for the perfect, bro. Don't listen
exactly, Edward. Exactly.
Perfectionist, right? Me, if you get 70% out of me, consider yourself lucky. So me, not so much. That frustrating sales-oriented call about logs with a customer and me, someone's trying to force me to give them recommendation on what they should and shouldn't bring in. I'm just going to quote industry standards, but luckily, sometimes things work themselves out because I got an email that talked about a webinar that I missed that talked about cost optimization and tuning of Sentinel. But for the most part, you're going to get the best value after you start bringing the logs in. If you get a big bill or two, you can go in and adjust your committed rate and say, we don't really need this much. And we're going to go in and do a line by line of each one of these logs. And customers don't like for me to say it, and salespeople grimace when I say it. Tell me the value of that log. Why do you want it? Who told you need to get it? How long have you been ingesting it if you are? What security values are you using to it? When the last time you used that log? And they're not prepared for that. But I'm saying if you transition, you're going to be ready for this, because now the cost factor is something you have to consider. See, they used to only consider what a traditional on-premise SIM, the cost of the SIM and the add-ons, because storage and HBAs and switch fabric is dirt cheap.
Well,
Right.
well. The people, you have to. It's not a apples to apples comparison, really, because that stuff, moving data, cost something, and it's those people that deployed it weren't privy to those costs. Now that they're working in the cloud, they actually see those costs on a monthly, daily basis. Now they're aware of what it actually costs to move data.
Yeah,
right?
It really is. And then
They had no
now
clue before.
they didn't want to go into things that didn't concern them. They want to care about facility metrics. How much is the space? How much power? How much cooling? How much backup you have? Some people think
Electricity.
that your retention is your backup. To any of our listeners that are using a SIM that has a traditional storage repository, your SAN, or that you are putting your logs in and that you are ultimately shipping off for archival, that is not your backup. You have to make a backup of your archival, right? Because what if your archival goes down? And so I think there are a lot of times they don't do this. I did this exercise years ago with a customer. When I went on, I said, "You want to play a game, Mr. Customer?" And they're like, "Yeah." I said, "I'll let you drive. How many terabytes you bringing in a day?" About 3. I said, "Okay." Go to Amazon real quick, or eBay. So we went to eBay. All right. So go ahead and price out a couple of servers, but I need front ends.
On eBay.
Go ahead and price this out. I said, you can go to Dell's site, but in Dell, you got to register and get a number and all, any site. I said, let's
Red
go ahead
Cup
and get some used
security.
equipment. Yeah. Let's go ahead and get this. Let's go ahead and get that. Yeah, you're going to need that too. Make sure you got power cables now. Let's get all this stuff. And when they got that cost, it's like, well, at least it's one time. Sir, it's not one time. You just bought one 5 terabyte storage array. How many terabytes you say you're bringing in a day? 5. So what's your retention? 0?
Yeah, and then the maintenance on top of that hardware, so you can get next or same day replacements if it goes down, and then you need to be able to test that recovery process. There's a lot that goes into it.
And then
Absolutely.
hiring a whole team of people to complain about it.
I had a customer that's this large say we spent more time keeping Splunk running than we did using Splunk. I'm like, I agree with you. But customers that have cloud experience, whether it be AWS, GCP, Azure, anybody, they understand the OpEx, right? So this is not a foreign concept to them. So they are more receptive of this when they look at it and say, okay, it's making me do an exercise in validity of what I'm doing, not necessarily the cost. And those customers excel, because I got some customers, they asked me to come on the cost. Man, you know more than I do. Like, let me get the product group on to you. I'm doing some Python stuff right now. I'm scratching my bald head. I'm like, maybe I can do this through a notebook. So I'm gonna reach out to Chi and see. Chi, if you're listening, is that what I need your help? That's all. So let's get into the show. We have 2 guests. One is a long time, or at least since I've been at Microsoft, acquaintance. I think I interviewed with him. He told me I didn't have the stuff, but he did take me to lunch. He did take me to lunch. He said, "This is your departing gift. Lots of ruck, right?" But no, I did do so much work. Matter of fact, I'm gonna start the show off with this before I go over to my next guest. Ryan, out of Microsoft Cloud Apps for Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps, MDE, MDO, MDI, and Sentinel. What's your favorite product?
Oh, man.
Choose carefully, because he'll just literally cut you off.
Yeah. You can't ask me that. That's like asking me to pick a favorite kid, right? It's like
ask me whatever my favorite kid.
Whatever.
You've got one.
Whatever
down,
I pick,
though.
then
I'm
going to go back and all the others are going to be mad at me, right? Why'd you pick that product? Why are they your favorite?
Yeah, I know. The only reason I did that,
I'm refusing to answer.
I did, because you and I did so much work in MCAS. I was trying to bait you to something, right? So, all right. So we have Ryan, and I'm gonna get this wrong, but I hope I get it right. Valon.
Got it. You got it right. Valon.
Because you kept looking at me when I was talking to you the other day. I kept calling you Valon. He's like, I get it. You having problems with the English? Like I said, I got it. I'm bad at names. I could probably pronounce your last name.
You're bad at just speaking and spelling entirely. Never mind names.
But that stuff's not important.
Yeah, that's fair. So, yeah,
look at all the salespeople.
It doesn't matter unless you run a podcast or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at all the salespeople in the world succeeding.
Whereas
that
with
was,
me, I
that was
completely
uncharitable.
forget the names. I just forget the names completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair, Valon. Yeah.
But anyway, we'd like to thank our two guests coming on today, and they're going to talk about something that we, a lot of security practitioners, operators, especially those that have a Microsoft focus, take for granted. All the webinars and virtual training and ability to go back and rewatch stuff if you couldn't make it, the tech community. So I get it all the time. I get the tech community newsletter. I think I get another notification that it's coming. Plus I get the email, and then I'm on private previews, but somebody has to put all this stuff together, right? And I say, I wonder who does that. So I knew of Valon, but I did not know Ryan was involved. And then I started doing my research. Oh, they do this together. So I wanted them to come on to talk about how they go about, gathering information, producing a product, criteria, considerations. And I got two other questions I want to ask too about. I'll save it for the show. So without further ado, I'll give you guys a chance to introduce yourself, what you do, what's your passion, and what we're going to talk about today. R comes before V. Ryan, go first.
All right, thanks. Thanks for having us. It's an honor to be here, and I'm excited. We're going to talk about our security community. So we got a lot of different parts to it. Valon and I together run our public community. We've also got a private community and a ring we'll touch on a little bit there that some of our colleagues run. So I lead the public community program. Valon leads our webinar portion of it. And we'll get into some more detail on that, but I'll let Valon introduce himself here first.
Hi, everyone. Valon Kolica. I joined the team about 3 years ago, and we're just here to share about the goodness of the Microsoft security through different platforms, webinars, blogs, bite-sized videos, etc. So we'll dive into the details here shortly.
Can I ask you a question? Can each one of us, I know what you do, but I don't know what your titles. What are your titles?
I don't know. They keep changing them. I think right now they're calling us product managers. So we're both senior product managers.
Okay.
Yeah.
It makes sense. You put out a product.
Yeah. We are the customer facing portion of the product teams for all of our security products.
Okay. Now I know.
Right.
Okay.
So we're facilitating, we're trying to get all of our engineering teams talking to our customers, right? And bringing them as close together as possible. That's the core of our job.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So we're product managers, but we're not on only one product. We work across the whole range of security products.
Well, and that's necessary, in my opinion. I think that a lot of companies, Microsoft, maybe some areas, but that is extremely important for companies to kind of keep that face-to-face connection. It's easy at Microsoft for our field folks, right? Because they're in front of the customer with these one-on-one discussions all day long. But when it comes to the product teams and engineering, that's extremely difficult. So yeah, that ability to be able to connect those product teams with our customers is huge.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, and that lends to two questions I'm going to ask toward the back about that very dynamic. So I'm going to save it toward the back end of the podcast, but I need to write it down. I'll forget. Brody, were you about to say something? It was Ryan. Okay.
I just wanted to say I also love attending the public-facing webinars, even though now that I'm a part of Microsoft, there's plenty of internal webinars to attend, and they're also wonderful. But I encourage people all the time just to sign up for all the security webinars. Just register for all of them. Mark them in your calendar. They'll come up, the 1 week will come up like, oh, there's a few today. I can make this one. Maybe I got to catch the recording. They're always entertaining. You always learn something. And it's just great having that connection between the product and engineering teams with customers, and then actually taking questions, right? Which can be challenging sometimes. Sometimes they're difficult questions, and the team works hard to follow up with those individuals directly afterwards. It's just great customer service and connection all around. So great job.
And obviously there you can get them on replay, but that live portion where you can actually ask the questions, that's what's so important and key about that, I think.
Yeah, and I think that I know it's important because I include the links in my signature so that folks know and they can go out and do these things. I encourage everybody to just put that in your signature, right? They quit to put PTO, right? But go ahead and say, hey, this is something. And then when I have a introduction to a customer, I send them a document that lists all the things I think that we're trying to consolidate, Brody, our top communities, podcasts, Twitter, and all that. Then we're going to publish that out right? So with that being said, I'm going to kick off the question. There will be an arbitrary selection method. I'm going to start off with Valon is first. So let me ask you a question. Tell me what the security community is, so those they understand it, because right now they just think it's just a simple webinar. Give our listeners an idea of what the community is and why they should be partaking in this and signing up.
Sure. So our security community is really this place where engineers can go and hear from our engineering teams and have opportunities to interact with us. Mm-hmm. It basically all starts with our public community. This is where we take our best practices for deploying users, for the common questions that always come up, and for the best how-tos, basically. So this is where we publicly share all the information with other engineers. So for the listeners out there, whether you're thinking about our products or you're deploying our products, or just already a super user of our products, we love to see you in our public community. Now, besides the public community, we have our sister team, the private community program, which Christina Quick runs it. Mm-hmm. And it's basically a program dedicated for super users of our products, and that we engage on a daily basis and want to influence the direction of our team. So in general, you can think of our security communities as the voice of the customer within our security engineering team. And you can think of the private community as the co-development platform where we bring you, the user, the design into the development lifecycle as early as we are defining our roadmap and getting input at the phase to when we're in design, and ultimately when we have the bits and pieces available to try before it actually goes to public. So this is where the users really can talk about it with the broader community. And then, as Ryan mentioned, we had the inner ring within the private community. The inner ring membership is driven by recognition and rewards. These are members that engage with us on 3 or more sessions like feature private previews, or roadmap, surveys, and design sessions, etc. Mm-hmm. So that's the overall public. In fact, I talked about in private community, but as far as public goes, and because we're public, it doesn't mean that we're marketing or sales team. Our community isn't geared towards any lead generations. Our mission is basically to enable our partners and clients to speak directly to with our engineering teams. So, in short, as you guys been part of it as well, I produce public-facing content for security products. That is through the webinar platforms and the other social media content. And so that's pretty much an overview. I can dive into more if you would like to hear on how do we actually decide on this content to be produced.
Well, that was going to be my next question. I was going to give it to Ryan, but
of course.
Oh yeah, before we dive into that, can we do screen sharing on this?
Yeah.
Can I kind of show people here so we don't just have to? So we can. Let me.
While you're doing that, Valon, you said something that really I think resonated and should resonate with me, but resonate with everybody, especially about that private preview program. But I think it really tells Microsoft's approach to our customers, right? You said that private preview program, that's our co-development team, right? And that's really how we look at our customers. We're trying to grab their feedback literally as much as possible to give back to the product teams and engineering so that we actually create something customers want, right? So I think that's exactly a really important thing.
And there's a distinct, not distinct, but there's also a difference between the public and private. Private encourages you to participate, as they said, because you're part of the inner ring and you can really affect what feature sets make it if they do make it. Plus, you get invited to a Teams channel, I believe. Big shout out to Christina Quick. Got to get you on the show. She's my bud.
Yeah,
Yep, you
Josh
should
is
definitely have
praising
her on
Christina.
here. Yeah.
You got to get her on. Matter of fact, make a note.
So can you share, Ryan, or does somebody have to
It
give
says
you?
it says host disabled screen sharing. So somebody's
do it.
Edward, you're the host.
disable
I'm making
me.
him the host now, man.
Somebody didn't want me.
I told you
On the
should have
sharing.
picked the right product at the beginning.
Okay, it says now I'm the host. Okay, let's try now here. Let's see here. Okay. All right. Can everyone see that all right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I just want to add a little bit of detail here to what Valon was saying, and kind of show what we're talking about here. So you can get there's one link to rule them all to get to everything we're going to talk about. It's aka.ms/security community. So if you type that in, aka.ms/security community,
Easy.
that lands you on our tech community page here. You can see where Valon's done a post here, and these are all of our upcoming webinars. Okay, we got them across all the different Microsoft security products here. Also general topics too, like security fundamentals, diversity and cybersecurity, different topics there. You can see we got a ton of them in the pipeline there coming up, going all the way into August. If you scroll down a little from that, we've got our YouTube channel listed there. We've got the private community that Valon was mentioning that Christina Quick runs. We've got a government community. We list events here when we've got them coming up. We've got blogs and forums here where people can go check out. We've got our GitHubs listed, our Ninja trainings, and where you can find us on LinkedIn. So this is basically the main landing page for getting to everything else.
So much goodness there. There's
Yeah,
so much there. The Ninja trainings are amazing. You know, the GitHub repos are amazing. It's just a great compilation of so much publicly available material for anybody out there. Just well done.
And this as part of that little, top 5 things that we're looking about. This is definitely one of those URLs, right, to be able to go to. Because I think Brody broke the question: what do you go look at every day to stay abreast? So let me ask you a quick question about your distribution of content. Didn't you also run a Yammer channel? Is Yammer still a thing?
We used to. So originally when we started out, so this whole community effort started a little over 5 years ago when they brought me on the team and they said, hey, we want to do this community thing. And they had a Yammer channel and then this idea that they wanted to have calls with customers. And that was it. So I inherited the Yammer channel, started running that. We had 1,400 people in the community at the time. And then I started doing customer calls. We were getting like maybe 20 people or so, and we've grown it over the years. We had to, as we were growing, change a whole bunch of things. So one of the things we found with Yammer is there's a lot of things I love about it, but it's inherently kind of based around a private community, right? Like the content's not indexable by search engines, and it's not a good like public landing page. It's better for like a private community. So we decided we wanted to go public at a certain point and, make a big open tent, welcome people in. We also wanted to keep that private community, and we always have, but we wanted like some kind of front door where people could come in and check out everything before they even decided whether they wanted to build that deeper relationship with us in the private community. Because before, to get on the Yammer things, you had to immediately sign up for an NDA, right? And go under all that. And that is a considerable barrier for people when they don't even know what they're getting. Should they even take the time? Is this even worthwhile? So we wanted to give away as much of our content as we can that doesn't have to be under NDA, get that conversation started. And then when we say, hey, if you want to know more, let's come talk about the stuff that we can't talk about publicly. And then they get in the private community. So we kind of outgrew Yammer and shifted to tech community. And it's worked. Now we're over 60,000 people in our community. So
I have 2 things to say about that. 2 things are going to resonate. One of them is a mission that when I first interacted with you, I was over at OCP. So I was doing the same thing you did, but for partners. So 50% of the content I did was regurgitated from you. If you go look at those posts, I give you credit at the end, right?
Great.
Original author.
I love it.
Right?
I'll take sharing anytime. Yeah.
And then number 2 was if you were in Yammer, I'm sure you know this name, Dean Gross. He always had something to say.
Yep.
And I know Dean. And Dean always had a comment, right?
Yep.
And to this day, he's super active. So
absolutely, we love having his input.
He'll tell you how it is or
Mhm.
how you think it is, right? So let me ask another question.
Mhm.
And this will, I'll flip it back over to Valon. How do you decide which content
Oh my
to
God. It's so
produce?
simple.
And who presents? Because as I go through these, is there a way that people that, I guess you have to be a Microsoft Blue FTE or something to be able to do the webinars, or how do you decide if you present, someone else presents, and what content you put out?
They curry favor with Valon. They have to bribe and send
bribes
gifts.
are the answer.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, it's very simple. we have a cadence in place. Well, now we're doing like 8 webinars a month. We just decided that that's the right amount of the webinars in order to, to keep our folks fresh, as well as, avoid that attendance fatigue on because we had months like last year, Ryan, what was it? October?
In October, we did 16.
Oh my God, that
it was too
just
much. We were exhausted. We kind of wore out the audience too. Attendance started dropping off.
So yeah, the way we go about it is about curating the webinar pipeline is simply meeting with the different product teams on the topic, mainly with GTP teams, the Get to Production team, and the PMMs, as well as working closely with our sister team, Christina's team, the private community team, and schedule months ahead in advance based on what's about to be released from the private preview to the general availability, or even a public preview. It's good enough phase for us of the material to work with something. So in there, basically, we decide depending on how many features they're coming up, and because our webinars typically run off 60 minutes, which is 45 minutes presentation, demo, and then we try to allocate 10 to 15 minutes for the Q&A towards the end. In fact, our SMEs are, and Rod's been in many of those webinars as part of the internal team, that we have handful SMEs over there to answer the incoming traffic of the questions, and then whatever was not captured towards that time, we verbalize them at the end. So we really make sure that we're covering everything. Now, there's times that we really can't answer everything. However, what we do, we capture them, and because we share all the materials, including the PDFs, we always provide an appendix within that PowerPoint as part PDF format for the questions that were not answered. So as of today, our webinars are averaging thousands of attendees, and once the webinar is complete, the recordings are hosted on our YouTube channel, and that's where our webinars get another lift, normally 4 to 5 times higher views in a period of couple months or so. So to answer your question, who presents and how we decide that. So basically, when we're meeting with these teams that I mentioned earlier, leads within those teams, they are picking the presenters on the topic. We don't have much saying on our side because we trust these leads, and that's pretty much how it goes. Ryan, anything to add on that?
Yeah, so I think that's a great description for a lot of them, because a lot of it is just what's coming out of the product, right? Obviously, we want to keep people up to date on that. There are also other things though that we cover, like we have, like I mentioned, we have the cybersecurity fundamentals series. So if we just think there's a topic that everybody should, be briefed on, like one of the ones we did a little while ago was, security issues in AI and machine learning, right? That's just like something everybody should be up on, how that affects everything. And then I also mentioned that diversity series we've got, which is great in terms of like showing really how broad and diverse the security community is, and showing everyone that they can be part of it and be successful in it. So we have those topics too, and then there's other topics that that we just think are particularly timely, like Valon, did you want to talk about that one that's upcoming with Tom?
Yeah. And I want to cover that one, but before that, because Brody mentioned earlier, giving compliments to our blog or landing page that you shared. And so in that page, the aka.ms/security community, as you've mentioned, there's lots of goodness in there. But besides our webinars and the links below, we have other events that we try to help amplify our colleagues. And I just wanted to mention the upcoming events. Don't miss Heike's virtual ninja training for Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, starting May 16. Heike and I sat together about 2 weeks ago and went over a demo of all this goodness she's about to launch, and she's trying to basically revolutionize today's ninja trainings, the blog-based versus the more interactive ones that she's about to start. And if I remember correctly, she's starting the first session with John Nix, who is the expert on the topic. So as far as that goes, and you mentioned, you wanted me to talk about the Tom. Yeah, well, this is going to be a teaser, basically, still in the works. This is, and can't promise anything yet, but hopefully we'll have it out there. So last week I reached out to Tom Burt and his team. For those listeners who don't know who Tom is, he's our Corp VP on customer security and trust here at Microsoft. So Tom recently published a special report on Russia's cyber attack activity in Ukraine. And hopefully we'll be able to turn that into a webinar session. So I'm looking forward to that.
I remember that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So we're always looking for timely topics like that too. So, and we're always happy to take feedback from our community about what they want to hear. So if you want to post something on our forums saying, hey, I'd really love to hear something on this topic, feel free. We would love to hear what you think and what you want to hear.
It sort of goes back. I asked the question, even though I think you gave me a partial answer, is that maybe Valon had some of it, but how do you manage the pipeline? Because you went from 16 to 8. You don't want to seem redundant on topics unless there's a part 1, part 2. How do you sort of manage what you believe would keep the audience engaged, so they don't go, I'll just watch the replay? How do you control pipeline, understand what you think needs to get out there? Ryan?
Oh, okay, that one to me. I was going to say Valon's managing that area right now, so
Valon.
I used to do it in the past, so
we get to see how well you guys work together.
Sure.
Valon's leading that now, so I'll let him answer.
So I mentioned earlier that it's been now about 6 months or so since we reduced the pipeline to basically 8 webinars a month, and I mentioned that the reason for doing that is basically 2 things. Managing the workload on us. Keep in mind, it's just Ryan and I on this, and we have 2 vendors that are helping us. So there's a lot of going on. So that's one thing. The other one is also, trying to avoid that attendance fatigue. We notice that on a weeks when we have more than 1 webinar, the attendance drop, and in order to keep that. In order to have that balance, we try to give a break in between. And in fact, we decided to do webinars on T-days, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Mondays don't work well. People coming out of the weekend. Fridays, people are getting ready to go into the weekend. And then, of course, we have our engineering team in Israel, and every now and then we have presenters from Israeli team. And their week is their Thursday is our Friday. So, and sometimes we try to shift from Thursdays to Wednesday, be flexible on that one. But all in all, that's this. Hopefully that answered the question.
It did, and I understand having to be flexible with Israel, because every time I hit Ofar up. He's like, it's evening. Oh, I'm sorry, Ofar. I'll wake up early and I'll catch you, man. My bad.
Ed, you don't have a clock on the wall with all those monitors that has the Israel clock? Like
I did, and the
Use
battery
one,
died.
yeah.
I'm too lazy to
the
change it.
battery died. Wow. So you don't
like
have a
this-
redundant backup. Okay.
I would wish the smoke detector stopped making noise. I wouldn't think it'd just be quiet. But let me ask you one last question, Valon, before we get off that. I understand topics that are coming from the product group that they believe this stuff needs to be known by the public. I understand the way you guys have adjusted pipeline to be able to get the maximum viewership, active participation, but not fatigue people. Because you're right, Monday, I don't want to be at work. Mondays are Mondays, and Fridays, even if it wasn't Israel, people are checked out. Right? They're pre-weekend planning, right? But do you have the ability to push back if a topic comes across and you're like, I mean, you're not really saying nothing, in a respectful and charitable way. Have you ever had instances where you believe that the subject or the topic being submitted is not worthy of coming on? Well, I don't want to put you in a position that you believe is not timely to put on at the time, or doesn't have enough of dossier or a prescript. So do you guys vet it before?
Yeah. Yeah, we absolutely, and ultimately everything that comes out of this, we decide it's on us if it gets, and we have a really simple, basically criteria, which is just what's going to be most valuable for the community. Mm-hmm. We decided a while ago, like we could have gone several different directions for it, right? We could have been like, oh, we're going to prioritize what's going to be the best from a marketing standpoint, or what's going to be get the most views, or we could have optimized for any of those things. And I feel like you can, there's reasons to argue for optimizing for those things. And in some other people's situations, they may be the right things to optimize for, but they lead down very different paths. And for us, we just decided that we're going to focus on whatever is most useful to our community. So that's ultimately what we decide. And yeah, we do take heavy feedback from the product teams to say, hey, we think this is really important, but we are the ones who vet it. We're the ones who ultimately decide what's going out or not.
One thing I like about webcast is that you stay away from sales as much as you can. So product groups that's trying to produce, you need to adopt this cost-saving feature. Customer asked you about cost saving. He said, can you make my day less onerous? Can you help stop attrition because my SOC team is burned out and they're leaving, right? They're going to go open smoothie stands or something. They've had enough, right? So I like the way you keep it very objective, very informational and knowledge share, and not, hey, the next new whistle and this is going to save you $2, right? I don't like a sales motion in information exchange. That sort of bothers me, because now you've put in a variable that the person has to consider, and now you inherently or subconsciously make them say, "Is that worth the cost?"
Yeah. I mean, obviously, sales motions have their place, and every organization has to have sales motions. But what I think nobody likes is sneaky sales motions, where you're pretending like it's an information session, and secretly you're just trying to sell them on the thing. And, for only 3 payments of $19.95, you can have like, we wanted very much to stay away from that. This is just purely like what's going to be most useful to you. It's pure education. It's pure, we're trying to be as helpful as we can to the people who are using this products or thinking of using the products. And, frankly, I think it's in terms of whatever sales or whatever, when you're talking about a technical audience, people aren't convinced anyway by, a hard sales pitch. They want to see the stuff. They want to see it work. They want to try it out. So
great call.
I just want to help people use our products and make it easier for them to use our products. And I want to make sure that our products stay relevant and that we're solving the right problems, right? That we're not off designing in an ivory tower and then saying, here's what you've got. I want people to tell us what their problems are and make sure we're designing to solve exactly that. I want to know what their pain points are. So that's what we try to focus on.
So based on that, do you find, at least with the webinars, do you find you get a lot of return attendance, or is there a mixture of like new attendance, people you've never seen before as well? Because to me, when I go speak somewhere, I want to speak to the people that don't know what I'm talking about and educate them in what I think's pretty great. So how does that fit into how you do the webinar, how you track from a data perspective, and also how you think about what content to deliver?
We get a healthy mix of both. I think we have definitely plenty of people returning, which I think is a good thing because it shows that they show up and they want to see more and they want to come back for more, but we're also attracting new people all the time. So I think it's a good balance. I don't know, Valon, if you have anything to add on that.
No, that's true. And as far as numbers goes, it's about I think it's about 15% of which is in thousands monthly new signups that we get awesome. For our community. Yep.
Yeah, and that makes sense too. Well, let me ask you this question. We're doing this podcast, and we are all information sharers and teachers and learners. But it's not hard, but it's not easy because you'd be surprised how it is to line up guests because people have their day jobs. And I am so appreciative of you taking time out to come on to this, right? Because this is an hour that you could have been doing something else, which is where I'm going with this. You went from a 16 show production a month to 8. But what is the pipeline that you have to stay current so you never fall behind topics to talk about? It sounds like you put on the Saturday Night Live skit and you guys are constantly in the room trying to get the skit ready for the next time. How do you guys keep that pipeline so that how do you keep the pipeline redundant and sustainable if you both go on vacation? Like, hey, I'm taking PTO and I'm taking holiday. I let Brody do it, right?
That's a great question. Yeah. So Valon and I definitely have to coordinate with each other a lot. He also mentioned we have 2 vendors that we work closely with, Ashley Martin and Jason Cohen, and they're fantastic. So they help us out a lot and keep everything. Between the 4 of us, we do a lot of juggling there to make sure everything is staying current. I don't know.
Shout out Ashley. I watch you on LinkedIn. She's always reposting Rod stuff and you guys
totally.
Stuff. Yeah, Ashley's on it. So we might need to get her and Christine on the show. Write a note.
Yeah. And Jason.
Yep.
And
Jason too. Yep.
Do I know Jason?
I don't know how much you've interacted with Jason, but yeah, because Ashley's doing a lot of the social media postings more lately, so you probably see her name more. But he's definitely working with us all the time, helping produce the webinars, all that sort of stuff. So
what's Jason's last name?
Ashley
Cohen, Jason Cohen.
Oh yeah, I know it.
Yeah. I keep Ashley busy.
Yeah, you do.
That's great. We're happy to take it. We love all your contributions, Rod.
Yeah, for sure.
Ryan, hey, do you mind, Ed? Do I ask a question? Yeah. So, do you either of you have an example about how private community collaboration with our customers led to a major release on a product sometime in the last year? We've moved away from that, like you said, in the ivory tower development method, right, to to an agile methodology where we're constantly iterating and working off of customer ideas. But some people might think like, nah, they're just saying that. Do you have like an example of like when we customers brought something to our attention that was like, we need to get this into place, and it was prioritized and released maybe earlier ahead of schedule?
So we definitely have a ton of examples of that. I don't want to get too specific because most of our examples of that are under NDA, right? Like that co-development thing is where that's the type of interaction that would happen in our private community. And so Christina, when you have her on the show, would really be the best one to answer that because she would know, we can talk about this instance, but not this instance. But if you look at nearly anything that's coming out as a public preview that we announce in our public community, it was before that a private preview in her private community. And yeah, that is like a constant interaction of we're taking feedback from people all the time. And there's several stages to that too. In the private preview sort of exercise, we already have a product. We're showing people, we're essentially, asking them on how we should change something that already exists. But then there's, more like design sessions where there isn't even anything that exists yet. And we just know, hey, there's a problem space we want to work in over here. And what do you think we should do? So sometimes we're just actually generating ideas directly from our customers like that and from partners.
That's really cool. That's really
Yeah,
cool. So
yeah,
really,
and
we all have to encourage our customers to get involved in this whenever possible, right? Especially if there's a
Absolutely.
particular product grouping that they're looking to expand in further.
Mhm.
You know, as a consultant, I'll hear feedback about why X or Y isn't in place. It's like, we love that feedback. So A, let me take
Yeah.
that feedback now, but B, let's also get you as involved in these private communities so that you can help drive the machine. I just think that's really cool. It's not how Microsoft or any company really used to do things years ago, right? This
it's
is
a
the
big
modern
shift.
development.
Right. I've been at Microsoft for 16 years now, and it was not at all how we operated years ago, but it's really something we want to do. But I should drop a reference to real quick to Christina's one, because this is on our aka.ms/security community page. But just if you want to get directly to the private community sign up, it's aka.ms/prseccom. So check.
Yeah, I send that out to my customers too that are
Awesome.
consuming a product, and make sure I say you need to get in this, and so you can understand maybe some of the things you're asking have already been asked, and maybe some of the things you have is unique, and everybody benefits from you asking the question, and that makes sense. So, you know, where's my note here? I was about to ask you another question here. Yeah, senior moment. I didn't write it down. It was about God, I forgot. I had a dumb moment. I'm sitting here messing with Matt so if you guys, Valon and Ryan, you seeing us look away, we're not being rude. We're managing the Discord channel. So
I see.
Rude.
No, but what if you want to? Since we were talking about the pipeline, if you want to, I can go a little bit further on
Please.
what we just recently done and what's upcoming, perhaps.
Please.
Okay, so basically, I'll just go. What is it today? May 11th. Yeah. So just yesterday we completed a great webinar with Sentinel folks. That was just with Benjamin Kovacevic and Lior Tamir. They basically took us through some awesome tips and tricks on covering the essentials of SOC automation actions that a typical SOC analyst can focus on true positive and high severity incidents. They also provided a great demo on the use of SOAR feature within the Sentinel, of course, which enriches the response to incidents and also covered some great tips on playbooks as well. And last week, now Ryan did mention about earlier about the topics that we go about off the techie side, like we dive into the fundamentals of the cybersecurity, as well as we started with diversity in cybersecurity. So last week we completed a session on that one, and just a bit of context on the diversity session. So March of last year is when we started with the initiative of engaging with the different underrepresented groups and have created some space for them to discuss and inspire our community for our off of our DI presenters' perspective and the career path they took, and ultimately got them to the cybersecurity or in tech field in general. So last week we completed a diversity in cybersecurity session with Ryan McAbod. Ryan is a U.S. Army veteran who actually served 8 years in active duty, including 2 combat tours overseas in Iraq and Afghanistan. And prior to joining Microsoft, she also spent, I think, about 5 years in Army Reserves. And she had a great story. She works here at Microsoft and manages a diverse team of highly skilled individuals focused on helping customers architect and as well as implement Microsoft security identity solutions. And prior to her role, she held a PM role in Microsoft engineering in both Defender Advanced Threat Protection and Azure Active Directory. So in the DI session last week with Ryan, she shared how, as an active member of the security and veteran communities, she helped guide and mentor underrepresented populations in these communities, basically to navigate on their next career step. And tomorrow, Now, tomorrow we have another diversity security session. This is with Dina Ayman. She'll be our guest tomorrow, speaking up for the minorities in tech, of course. Dina will be presenting Muslims, minorities, women of color, Egyptians, Arabs. And I believe she also teaches she's a professor at the New Jersey Institute of Technology. So she'll tell her story from being told that engineering is not for girls to discuss creating and opening. So this is going to be quite an impressive story that I'm looking forward to it for tomorrow.
That's awesome.
As far as what's upcoming, I mean, if you look at that aka.ms/security community, I think we have more than 20 all the way till mid-August webinars. But we have, besides Sentinel, we have on May 17, we have one with Fernanda Vela and Tom Janecek. They will provide an overview of what is needed to enable the Microsoft Defender for Cloud at scale, how to plan your deployment, and when to use automations or policies. And then on a different product, May 24th, we have with Maayan Shaul. This is regarding Microsoft Defender for IoT, Section 52. And so for those who don't know what Section 52 or Microsoft Section 52 is, basically the global IoT OT research team. It consists of reverse engineers and the threat researchers focusing their work on hunting IoT and OT related threats. In this session, Maayan will share some interesting techniques for investigating potentially malicious ladder logic code, and Maayan will go over the basic of ladder logic programming, and will demonstrate it on a lab equipment, and also will cover some deep dives into identifying the malicious parts of and show some ways to detect them easily. So that's pretty much it.
Those
and
are
I can go on and on.
sessions. Yeah, well, first off, the diversity sessions, that is unbelievably important right now in our industry, just unbelievably important. So I'm super happy that we're getting on some guest speakers that can speak to all groups, right? Underrepresented groups, but we need everybody in security. And man, am I ever excited about that Defender for IoT session, because that technology is just so important right now for securing critical infrastructure. You look at what's going on with the front lines in Ukraine right now are being determined by solutions like Defender for IoT, keeping the lights on. And so that entire team, since that acquisition, has just been an incredible, interesting element of our overall security stack. So these sessions coming up sound amazing. Thank you for telling us about them.
Of course.
Edward, you're on mute. Seniors moment. You're good, bud.
It's been a day, man. I've been asked so many questions today. So I remember my senior moment question. I wrote it down so I wouldn't have another senior moment. Is sometimes, and Ferris has seen, to really measure the progression and ascent of a particular thing that you do is at often at the demise of something that I see going down. What I'm going with is, since we as a security community, whatever vendor, but particularly Microsoft, has made our webinar and internet facing webinars so robust, so well produced, so informational, you're seeing a decline in traditional training, people putting butts in the seat. That doesn't work. It wasn't working post-pandemic, and it's definitely not going to work out. So, I was a fan back in the day for, New Horizons and Global Knowledge and stuff, but they're having a huge decline because they don't know how to make that shift, right? And so people are going, wait a minute, I'm getting the same quality information from a free source. Why would I really pay for it, right? And, unfair as it may be, that is just market disruption. The vendors are saying, we can't rely on either, MCTs or whatever else to properly talk about the capabilities of our product. We're going to do it ourselves. And this was something that a lot of times companies didn't want to invest in. They like, let those guys do it, right? I can tell that this is going up because I very rarely hear people talk about traditional training. They're asked, can you give me a link for it? Right off the bat, can you give me a link for it so I can watch it? And there it is. So I know that this is working because I hear people like, when they ask for training, they're like, hey, can you recommend a URL or online training? And I'm not talking about the online training courses like Udemy and those. They want to hear from the vendor. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And they go that route. So
great point. There's so many times I refer customers when I'm trying to explain a complicated topic or I'm trying to catch up on a topic myself.
Mhm.
I go and find our community webinars, etc., and skill up and supply those, and it helps bridge a lot of knowledge gaps. To your point, I never thought about the impact on training. That's interesting, Edward. I can see that. Go ahead, Rod.
Well, if you look at our Learn modules and our webinars and our docs and everything, we do have gaps, but it's very, very few. And the way that we architect those these days, it's very easy to fill those gaps with something. So I think a lot of times these webinars are filling those gaps really because it's providing a solution to customer questions, right? By staying engaged with them in the tech community, we know what the customer's gaps of knowledge is, and then we can provide something that fills those gaps of knowledge.
And the biggest thing is time optimization. Because if I'm watching a webinar, I can pause, go use the bathroom. The professor on that or the instructor on that podium is not going to wait till Rod gets back from his smoke break. Or Rod doesn't smoke.
Just take your phone to the bathroom with you, and
I've never
not
done
that serious.
I do that all the time.
I bet you do.
That's my preferred webinar viewing.
I get most of my best reading done there.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
Yeah, there you go. I get it. But gentlemen, we're going to get ready to close the show out. We got 3 minutes left. We'd like for you to have any closing statements, anything you want to do, and I'm sorry, anything you want to talk about, and then we'll conclude the show. I think this has been super interesting. This is one of those things that our customers sort of knew about, but you have to ingrain it to them to sort of, like Brody said, enroll in all of them, whether you have the ability, because things change. You may have enrolled and then something like, the business of the business doesn't allow me. That is another reason that this is so valuable, because I used to be an active MCT and I taught at Global Knowledge. I was so frustrated that people took 4 days to come to my class, but they still had to work. They were leaving out. I got an emergency. I got this. This came up. When you have it.
Yeah. You think about a lot of these organizations still provide budget for training. So these employees are just literally taking it as vacation. Right? And you're paying me to go do something else outside the organization. So.
Yeah. And very few organizations make you confirm your attendance by virtue of this came with a free cert certificate, exam certificate. You need to go past this.
I thought I sent you to training for this. Why can't you do this?
Yeah. Looks like you got
there you go. Yeah. I said you came back all swollen and buff. You look relaxed. That doesn't look like training to me.
Nice tan.
Yeah. So I'll start with Valon. I got to get this right. You go ahead and give your closing. I can't get names right. I'm embarrassed.
We know.
And then we'll go to Ryan and we'll close out the show.
Okay. Remember when we met with you, was it last week or this week? You said that we need to get ready for a joke, because that's how we started off, with a joke. Mm-hmm. So I had a joke that I kept now for the end, and I want to share.
Go ahead.
So this happened, I don't know, last year sometimes. I had to take a car to a dealer, and I told the team, I told Ryan, this is where I'm going. And normally, when I'm doing my chores and the balls, team doesn't bother me. So I go there 2 hours later, Ryan, he's like, okay, I need to talk to you about something really important. I was like, okay. So I go on the laptop and open my computer. He goes, okay, so I need you to go to LinkedIn, to your LinkedIn profile, and look at your title, because there's something wrong with your title. And I'm looking at that. He goes, congratulations, you just got promoted, so you need to change your title.
Yeah.
So he really got me with that. Oh my God, I fell for it so bad.
Yeah, you guys will fit in on this show. We're a bunch of yahoos and practical jokers around here, so you guys definitely fit in. I can see Ryan doing that.
Yep, we're always joking around.
He said, Ed, when I interviewed with him to come on this team, we finished up. He might have been the last person. He said, let's go to lunch. I want to give you the bad news and the bad news. You come on downstairs. I know you didn't do that. I wasn't nearly prepared, but I learned so much from you that my community got better inside OCP, right? I understood how to be more deliberate in my writing, right? Understand, facts and not insert too much opinion, influence because of what I've done in the field. I'm just saying in the real world, this is how I work and people like that. And then I met Dean Gross, right? And him and I have been colleagues ever since, right? If I have a question, he is like, yo, this is how I do it, right? He's one of the few people that knew how to monetize our products, how to make services out of it. And that's still a barrier to our products, to our partners. They do not know how to take this and turn this into a monthly recurring revenue type of monetization effort. That is something we're still struggling with. We got MISA, we got MSSP partners and stuff. They're checking the boxes, but when they go out to execute, we're still having a deficit in viable partners, especially in Sentinel. And MDE is becoming super quick. But you've seen the rise of promising companies, and we can mention them on the show. They don't sponsor us. I like Critical Start, Attack IQ. I like some of the things that they're doing. Blue Voyant, Ascent, Blue Voyant and Man Sentinel, the same thing. So there is light at the end of the tunnel. But until that thing gets really good, your show is instrumental. Your webinar is instrumental. That folks, and then it's referenceable. You can go back and look at it any time.
Right.
Try to go sit in that seat again for another week for free because you couldn't pay attention.
Well, thank you for that. That means a lot to us. And besides the jokes, thank you so much for having me as a guest here, Rod, Brody, and Edward. This means a lot to me and to our community. So you are also, guys, are doing a great work. So keep up with that, and we'll try to keep our community with vibrant and with fresh content. So hopefully.
We're struggling for the same thing.
Yeah,
we're the same thing, man.
That's always a struggle. In fact, that's what I'd like to close up with is just a big thank you to everyone, because community really is about getting a whole bunch of people together and everybody contributing, right? So all of you are contributing by putting out fantastic podcasts like this. We're taking contributions all the time from our customers, from our partners, from our field folks, from our engineering teams. This really is such a wonderful effort of people coming together all across the industry to help each other, to help make the world safer, by building great products, by deploying them correctly, by sharing strategies about how we can use them, and just working together to solve these cybersecurity issues. So I just want to give a big thank you to everyone involved.
And I'm all about force multiplying. And what do we say on Connects? Using the work of others to do whatever else. When sometimes salespeople say, hey, I need you to come give an overview of this particular thing. I sent them your link. I said, now go watch that and then generate me questions, right? Let me know you're committed by going and at least watching this. And then I know if you watched it because you're going to generate questions that are a result of you saying, I heard this, but I didn't understand it. You know what's going on. Rather than someone, how does Sentinel work? I don't know. PFM.
Turn it on. You got to turn it on first.
Yeah. You got to ingest all the logs.
Yeah, all of them.
So with that being said, to all our listeners and eventually viewers on YouTube, I don't think we did Twitch today. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you, Valon. Thank you, Ryan. Next week, another exciting guest. We're trying to build our pipeline up. Unfortunately, I'm in charge of it, so it's lacking. Brody's is responsible too.
I'm helping. I got us. Mark Grimes wants us on the identity call. We're gonna get people. Don't worry.
Shout out to you though. Someone invited us to come on their stuff.
Yeah,
Right.
See, I'm providing value. Not just here for jokes.
You know how Franklin and Rod are just judgmental.
I know they're the worst.
Oh my God! Ed and Rod are dropping the ball. I'm like, dude, okay.
Well, that's why we have Brody. We have somebody to blame for all this.
Exactly.
Yeah, we do have Brody.
You always blame the consultant. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I thought you always blame the Canadian. So, okay, I can blame for two
That's
reasons.
you. You can blame Canada and
Canadian consultant. That's like a double whammy.
Sure
I
is.
know, right? So thanks everybody for listening. This has been the Microsoft Security Insight Podcast, aka Red Cup Security. Thank you to our guests. Stay tuned for next week. We're gonna have good people coming. We're gonna do good stuff.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Oh, by the way, Frank, we need to get like an ending audio thing for our podcast.